The incident. The void between stars had once seemed impossibly vast to humanity. Now, 50 years after discovering faster-than-light travel, the emptiness between celestial bodies was merely a commute. Humanity had found its place among the stars, albeit a humble one. Dr. Elena Reyes gazed through the viewport of the research vessel Artemis as it approached the massive orbital station circling Calderia Prime. The swirling blues and greens of the alien world below contrasted sharply with the gleaming metal construct above it. This diplomatic mission represented humanity's greatest opportunity yet to elevate their standing in the galactic community. Nervous? Captain Marcus Chen appeared beside her, his dark eyes reflecting the distant planet. Excited, Elena corrected, patting the secure case attached to her belt. The omnilingual matrix represents 10 years of my life. If the Caldarians accept our offer to share it, humanity finally gets a seat at the grown-ups table. Marcus smiled, but his eyes remained serious. Just remember, the Caldarian Dominion didn't become the most powerful force in this sector by being generous. They've ruled for 3 millennia, and they're not known for viewing younger species as equals. That's exactly why we need this meeting, Elena said. My matrix doesn't just translate known languages like existing tech. It decodes any new language by analyzing patterns in real time. It could revolutionize communication across the galaxy. The Artemis shuddered slightly as docking clamps engage. Marcus straightened his uniform. Showtime, Doctor. The diplomatic team is assembling in the conference room. The human delegation consisted of 6 people: Elena, Captain Chen, Ambassador Sophia Dias, Security Chief Raj Patel, and 2 junior diplomats. They were met at the airlock by a contingent of Caldarians, tall humanoids with iridescent blue skin and 4-fingered hands. Their elongated faces featured vertical pupils that gave them an eternally suspicious appearance. I am High Commander Vexnar, announced the lead Caldarian, voice emanating from a translation device at his throat. The Dominion welcomes the human delegation. Ambassador Dias stepped forward with a practiced smile. We're grateful for this opportunity, High Commander. The United Earth government values this chance to strengthen relations between our peoples. Vexnar's eyes narrowed slightly. Yes, we understand you bring technology to share. The Archean Council has expressed curiosity. The delegation was escorted through gleaming corridors to a vast chamber where 7 Caldarians in ornate robes sat in a semicircle. Their chairs elevated them above the humans, a subtle but deliberate reminder of the power dynamic. The human delegation may present their offering, announced the central figure, Archean Zolfar. Ambassador Dias delivered a short introduction before gesturing to Elena. Taking a deep breath, Elena stepped forward. Esteemed Archons of the Caldarian Dominion, I am Dr. Elena Reyes. I've developed what we call the omnilingual matrix, a universal translation system that works with any language upon first contact. She removed the device from her case, a small crystalline cube that pulsed with soft blue light. Unlike current translation systems, which require extensive programming for each new language, the matrix adapts instantly through quantum algorithms that identify linguistic patterns. Murmurs spread among the Archons. One leaned forward, eyes gleaming with interest. Demonstrate, commanded Zolfar. Elena activated the device. The matrix can translate the Caldarian language without using your existing translation databases. It builds understanding from scratch. She nodded to Ambassador Dias, who deactivated her standard translator and spoke directly to the Archons in their native tongue, something that should have been impossible without years of study. The Archons' reaction was immediate. Several rose from their seats, their faces showing a mixture of surprise and alarm. How did you access our linguistic databases? Demanded Zolfar, suddenly hostile. We didn't, Elena explained quickly. That's the innovation. The matrix analyzes speech patterns in real time and... This is deception, interrupted another Archon, his voice cold. No species has developed such technology. You have clearly stolen Caldarian research. Captain Chen stepped forward. I assure you, this is purely human innovation. Dr. Reyes has spent a decade. Silence. Zolthar rose to his full height. This device represents a security threat to the Dominion. All translation systems are regulated by the Galactic Accord of Communication, which grants the Dominion oversight of such technologies. Elena felt her heart sink. This wasn't going as planned. The Matrix doesn't violate any accords. We're offering to share. Secondary Commander Zolthar addressed Vexnar. Secure the human device for analysis. This technology cannot leave Caldarian space. Security Chief Patel moved subtly closer to Elena. Ambassador, he whispered to Diaz, we should withdraw. But before Diaz could respond, Vexnar approached Elena with an outstretched hand. Surrender the device, human. Elena clutched the Matrix protectively. This is a violation of diplomatic protocol. The Matrix belongs to Earth. Vexnar's expression darkened. The device presents unknown capabilities that could threaten Dominion security. Surrender it immediately. Wait, Elena said, backing away slightly. Let's discuss this properly. The Matrix is designed to foster communication, not. Vexnar moved with unexpected speed. He lunged forward, reaching for the device. Elena stumbled backward, and in doing so, her elbow brushed against a control panel along the wall. A soft chime sounded. She's accessing restricted systems, shouted one of the Archons. No, Elena began, but her words were cut short as Vexnar drew a weapon and fired without hesitation. A pulse of energy struck Elena directly in the chest. For a brief moment, her eyes widened in shock and confusion. Then she collapsed to the floor, the Matrix falling from her lifeless fingers. No. Captain Chen dropped to his knees beside her, checking frantically for a pulse that wasn't there. The chamber erupted into chaos. Paddle drew his sidearm, but was quickly surrounded by Caldarian guards. Ambassador Diaz stood frozen in horror. Why? She finally managed to ask, her voice barely audible. She was just a scientist. Vexnar calmly retrieved the Matrix from the floor. She attempted to access secure Caldarian systems, a capital offense under Dominion law. That's a lie. Chen shouted, still kneeling beside Elena's body. She bumped into the panel accidentally. Our ship's recordings will show everything. Your recordings are irrelevant, Zolthar stated coldly. Under the Galactic Accords, the Dominion has full jurisdiction in matters of security within our territory. The human committed a violation and faced the consequences. He gestured to his guards. The human delegation will be escorted back to their vessel immediately. The device remains with us for security evaluation. Consider yourselves fortunate that we do not detain you all for questioning. As they were marched back to the Artemis, Ambassador Diaz found her voice. The United Earth government will not accept this. You've murdered a civilian scientist without provocation and stolen her life's work. Vexnar's expression remained impassive. Your species is young, Ambassador. You don't understand your place yet. One human life means nothing in the grand scheme of galactic politics. Captain Chen carried Elena's body himself, refusing to let the Caldarians touch her. His face was set in stone, but his eyes burned with a cold fury. As the airlock sealed behind them, Paddle spoke quietly. Captain, the Artemis' security systems captured everything. We have evidence. Chen nodded grimly. Prepare a stasis chamber for Dr. Reyes. We're taking her home. He looked at his crew, determination hardening his features. And we're bringing back the truth. The Caldarians will not get away with this. What the Caldarians didn't know was that the Artemis possessed cutting-edge surveillance systems that had recorded every moment from multiple angles. The footage clearly showed Elena accidentally brushing against the control panel as she backed away. There had been no attempt to access Caldarian systems, only a murder disguised as justice. The Artemis broke orbit immediately, accelerating away from Caldaria Prime. As the blue-green world diminished behind them, Captain Chen sent an urgent encrypted message to Earth Command. human scientist murdered by Kildarian Dominion. Returning with evidence. Request immediate diplomatic response. 3 days later, the Artemis reached the nearest human outpost at Proxima Centauri. The security footage was transmitted to Earth along with Captain Chen's full report. Elena's body was prepared for the long journey home. On Earth, the news of Elena Rice's death spread like wildfire. People gathered in cities worldwide, watching in horror as the security footage showing her murder played on enormous screens. The footage revealed not only her innocence, but also the theft of her groundbreaking technology, the omnilingual matrix that rightfully belonged to humanity. In New Geneva, the United Earth Parliament convened an emergency session. Ambassador Weilin, Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, delivered a grim report. The Kildarians claimed jurisdiction under the Galactic Accords and refused to acknowledge any wrongdoing, she explained. They insist Dr. Rice was attempting to access restricted systems, but we have irrefutable proof that she was not. And the Council's response? Asked President Amara Okafor, her voice tight with controlled anger. Ambassador Lin's expression was bleak. They've dismissed our petition. The Council is dominated by elder species who view us as newcomers with no real standing. To them, this is a minor incident not worth disrupting galactic politics. A heavy silence fell over the assembly. Then President Okafor rose to her feet, her tall frame silhouetted against the chamber's vast windows overlooking the rebuilt skyline of Geneva. For the first time since joining the galactic community, we face a stark truth, she said, her voice steady and clear. In the eyes of the elder species, human lives are expendable. She looked around the room at the assembled representatives of Earth's nations and colonies. They took one human life, President Okafor continued, her eyes hardening. Now they will learn what that means. The Kildarian Dominion has made a grave mistake. They believe we are weak because we value life. They shall discover that this is precisely why we are dangerous. As night fell over Earth, lights burned in military headquarters and research facilities across the planet. The Kildarians had taken one human life. They would soon learn the price of that decision. Humanity's response. The Galactic Council chamber was a vast rotunda, its ceiling a perfect replica of the galactic core. Representatives from over 300 species sat in rising tiers, the elder races occupying the most prestigious positions near the center. Ambassador Weilin stood alone at the speaking dais, a solitary human facing the ancient powers of the galaxy. The evidence is irrefutable, Wei said, her voice steady, as she gestured to the holographic display showing the security footage from the Artemis. Dr. Elena Rice was murdered while backing away from Commander Vexnar. She accidentally brushed against a control panel. She did not attempt to access any Kildarian systems. The Kildarian representative, High Judicator Mukhtar, rose from his seat. His ornate robes glittered under the chamber's lights. The human's interpretation is flawed, he stated dismissively. Our investigation confirms that Dr. Rice was attempting to access restricted security protocols. Commander Vexnar acted in accordance with Dominion law. This footage proves otherwise. We insisted, advancing the recording to show the moment Elena's elbow barely grazed the panel. The Kildarian Dominion must return Dr. Rice's research and acknowledge their crime. The council elder, a Zintheri whose species had traveled the stars for 50,000 years, raised a hand for silence. Its translucent skin revealed the slow pulse of multiple hearts. Ambassador Lin, the elder's voice resonated through the chamber. While this incident is unfortunate, the Kildarian Dominion has jurisdiction in matters concerning their security. The Council finds no cause to intervene. We looked around the chamber in disbelief. Most representatives seemed disinterested or actively dismissive. To these ancient species, humanity was still an upstart race, barely worth notice. One human death meant nothing against the complex politics of a galaxy they had navigated for millennia. Is this the justice of the Galactic Council? Wei asked quietly. You allow the murder of an innocent scientist to go unpunished. You permit the theft of technology that rightfully belongs to Earth. This matter is closed, the elder announced firmly. The council has more pressing concerns. We left the chamber with her head held high, but her hands trembled with suppressed rage. The message was unmistakable. Human lives were expendable in the cosmic order. As her shuttle returned to Earth, she prepared her report for President Okafor and the United Earth Parliament. 2 days later, Earth's leadership gathered in the Situation Room beneath New Geneva. Admiral Helena Vostok of the Earth Defense Fleet slammed her fist on the table as Y concluded her report. "We should respond with military force," the Admiral declared. "Show the Kildarians that humans won't be treated as lesser beings." General Omar Nasir shook his head. "The Kildarian Dominion commands a fleet of thousands of warships and holds hundreds of systems. We have barely established colonies on Mars, Europa, and Proxima B military action would be suicide." "Options," President Okafor said simply, her gaze moving around the table. Dr. Sanjay Kapoor, Director of Earth Intelligence, stood up. His slight frame belied the sharpness of his mind. "The Kildarians believe we are weak because we value life," he said calmly. "They fail to understand that this is precisely why we are dangerous." "Explain," Okafor prompted. "Military action would indeed fail," Sanjay continued. "But we have other options." He activated a display showing various Kildarian worlds, stations, and installations. "They took something from us. We can take everything from them." "What do you propose?" asked the president. "The Kildarians stole our omnilingual matrix. Let's show them what other technologies Earth has developed." Sanjay's voice remained measured, but his eyes burned with cold intensity. "We possess nanomachines that can infiltrate any system, biomimetic viruses that can target specific technological architectures, and quantum AI systems that can bypass any security network." The room fell silent as he continued. "We've kept these technologies to ourselves because we understood their potential consequences. Now, we deploy them." "You're suggesting sabotage," Admiral Vostok said, leaning forward with interest. "I'm suggesting justice," Sanjay corrected. "The Kildarians need to learn that taking one human life has profound consequences." President Okafor studied him carefully. "You're not proposing retaliation in kind. No loss of Kildarian lives." "No," Sanjay said firmly. "We don't target their people. We target their infrastructure, their economy, their military capabilities. We make them feel pain without taking lives. We are better than they are." The discussion lasted for hours. Some argued for a direct approach, others worried about escalation. In the end, President Okafor made her decision. "We proceed with Director Kapoor's plan," she announced. "The galaxy needs to learn that humanity will not tolerate the unjust taking of even one human life. But we will show restraint. We will not become killers like them." Over the next few weeks, Earth quietly withdrew its diplomatic missions from Council space. Military vessels returned to the solar system. To the galactic community, it appeared that humanity had accepted its place as a minor power, chastened by the Kildarians' demonstration of authority. The Kildarian Dominion celebrated its victory. Commander Vexnar was promoted to Overseer of Human Affairs, a new position created to monitor the primitive species that had dared to challenge Kildarian authority. On Earth, preparations progressed swiftly. Specialized teams were assembled from intelligence agencies, military special forces, and scientific institutions. They trained in complete secrecy at underground facilities across the planet. Commander Maya Rodriguez, formerly of Earth's Special Operations Command, led the most critical team. In a secured briefing room deep beneath the Atacama Desert, she addressed the 12 operatives under her command. "Operation Silent Reckoning begins tomorrow," she told them, her scared face illuminated by the holographic display. "Our mission is straightforward but not simple. We will infiltrate Kildarian Prime and deploy our payloads at the designated targets." The operatives studied the schematics of their objectives. Power distribution hubs, orbital defense systems, and most importantly, the Dominion Central Archives where Alina's stolen technology was most likely stored. We travel in 3 merchant vessels with modified signatures, Maya continued. Standard cover as independent traders from the Rigelian Confederacy. Once in system, we separate and approach our designated targets. One of the operatives, a quantum systems specialist named Thomas Webb, raised a hand. Command confirmed no casualties, correct? Even with secondary effects. Maya nodded firmly. Absolutely no casualties. That's why each of you was selected. You're the best at precision operations. Our goal is to cripple, not kill. We're better than they are. The teams deployed the following day aboard nondescript vessels that departed Earth without ceremony. Similar teams embarked for other Kildarian systems and installations throughout the sector. Within 2 weeks, operatives had positioned themselves across Kildarian space, invisible among the countless traders, travelers, and minor diplomatic missions that crossed the Dominion daily. Maya's team reached Keldaria Prime without incident. Their vessel, disguised as a Rigelian cargo hauler, was barely given a cursory scan before being granted landing clearance at a commercial spaceport on the outskirts of the capital. "They're overconfident," Thomas remarked as they prepared their equipment in the cargo hold. "The Keldarians truly believe no one would dare strike at them." "Pride before the fall," Maya replied, checking the specialized containers holding their nanomachine payloads. "Synchronized timers. All teams deploy simultaneously in 6 hours." Across Kildarian space, human operatives moved into position. They carried no conventional weapons, only innocuous devices containing Earth's most advanced technologies. Technologies the Kildarians had never imagined possible from the primitive human species. At precisely 300 Earth Standard Time, Operation Silent Reckoning commenced. Maya's team had split into 3 groups. She led the most critical mission, infiltrating the Central Archives. Disguised as maintenance workers with forged credentials, they gained access to the environmental control systems of the massive structure. Ventilation access secured, Maya whispered into her subdermal communicator, deploying Package Alpha. She activated a small cylinder that seemed to dissolve into mist. The specially designed nanomachines dispersed through the ventilation system, programmed to seek out specific data signatures that matched Alina's omnilingual matrix. Across the planet, similar deployments occurred at power stations, communications hubs, and military installations. None of the devices caused physical damage. They simply observed and waited. Thomas's team infiltrated the Dominion's primary planetary defense grid control center. Their nanomachines slipped into the system's cooling mechanisms, undetectable by Kildarian scanners. "Package Omega deployed," he reported. "Integration complete." For 2 days, nothing happened. The human operatives departed Kildarian space as quietly as they had arrived, returning to their assigned rendezvous points at the edges of Dominion territory. On the 3rd day, the Kildarian Dominion began to experience anomalies. It started with minor communications disruptions. Messages arrived corrupted or not at all. Then power fluctuations affected government districts. Defense systems reported phantom contacts, forcing constant alert status that drained resources and exhausted personnel. On Keldaria Prime, Archon Zulfar convened an emergency meeting of the Dominion's leadership. Explained these failures, he demanded of the Chief Systems Administrator. "Unknown, Archon," the administrator replied, mandibles clicking nervously. "Our diagnostics find no physical damage, no intrusions, no malware. Systems simply malfunction." "The humans," suggested Overseer Vexnar suddenly. "This began shortly after their withdrawal." "Impossible," scoffed another Archon. "Their technology is primitive. They have no capacity to breach our defenses." But the disruptions continued and escalated. Within a week, the Keldarian financial system began showing inconsistencies. Military encryption protocols failed, forcing communications blackouts. Automated transport systems developed routing errors that created gridlock in major cities. Still, not a single Keldarian was physically harmed. Systems failed in ways that caused inconvenience, economic damage, and military confusion, but never danger. In the Archean Council chamber, panic was setting in. "We've lost control of the defense grid," the military overseer reported, his usual composure shattered. "Weapons systems are offline throughout the sector. Our fleet is operating on manual control only." "How is this possible?" demanded Zulthar. "Find the source." "We cannot," admitted the chief systems administrator. "Whatever is causing this leaves no trace. It's as if our systems are forgetting how to function." On the 30th day, every communication device on Calderia Prime activated simultaneously. The face of President Amara Okafor appeared on screens throughout the planet. "People of the Caldarian Dominion," she began, her voice calm but unyielding. "1 month ago, your government murdered Dr. Elena Reyes, a scientist who came to you in peace. Your leadership dismissed her death as insignificant, one human life of no consequence in galactic affairs." She paused, her eyes seeming to find each viewer individually. "You have now experienced 30 days of escalating systems failures. Your economy is in freefall. Your military is effectively neutralized. Your government is paralyzed. And yet, not one Caldarian life has been lost." Zulthar and the assembled Archons stared at the transmission in stunned silence. "This is but a fraction of what humanity is capable of," President Okafor continued. "We could have destroyed your civilization entirely. Instead, we showed restraint, something your leadership failed to do when they took Elena's life." She leaned forward slightly. "The paralysis of your systems will continue until 2 conditions are met. First, the return of all research and technology taken from Dr. Reyes. Second, a formal acknowledgement of responsibility for her death and appropriate compensation to her family." "This is extortion," Zulthar sputtered. "This is justice," Okafor corrected, as if she had heard him. "You took 1 human life. In return, we could have taken everything from you. Remember this the next time you dismiss the value of a single life." The transmission ended. 2 days later, the Caldarian High Council sent a delegation to Earth. They brought with them the omnilingual matrix and a formal declaration accepting responsibility for Elena's death. Reparations would be paid to her family, and Commander Vexnard would stand trial for her murder. As the Caldarian ships approached Earth orbit, their systems suddenly returned to normal function. The nanomachines simply dissolved, leaving no trace of their existence. In the Galactic Council chamber, the mood had shifted dramatically. The elder races watched the humans with new eyes, not as upstarts to be dismissed, but as a force to be reckoned with. A species that could bring the mighty Caldarian Dominion to its knees without firing a shot or taking a single life was something unprecedented in galactic history. 1 month after the Caldarian surrender, a new memorial was unveiled outside the United Earth Parliament building. A statue of Dr. Elena Reyes stood in polished stone, the omnilingual matrix held in her outstretched hand. At the base was inscribed a single phrase that had become humanity's unofficial motto among the stars: "Every life matters." The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans valued life so deeply that they would go to extraordinary lengths to avoid taking it, but they would move heaven and earth to defend it. They had demonstrated both mercy and might in equal measure. They had shown the galaxy that taking 1 human life was the most expensive mistake any species could make. The Caldarian Empire had paid the ultimate price, not in blood, but in understanding the true nature of the species they had so casually dismissed. Humanity was dangerous, not because they were violent, but because they were principled. And that was a power the galaxy had never seen before.